Have you ever kind of wondered how these AI assistants like Claude actually work? I mean, we hear about them all the time, right? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and turn all that mystery into actual mastery. So let's start with this idea. It's really the best way to begin thinking about something like Claude. It's not just a program. It's like having access to this enormous library of all human knowledge, but with a librarian who can instantly synthesize everything just for you. It's an incredibly powerful concept. But here's the thing. It's not actually magic. So, first up, what even is Claude? We're going to look behind the magic trick and see the technology that makes this whole thing possible. Okay, so at its core, Claude is what we call a large language model, or an LLM for short. It's this huge program built by a company called Anthropic that's been trained on a truly mind-boggling amount of text. We're talking the internet, books, code, you name it. It's learned all the patterns of human language, and that's what lets it generate that helpful, really human-like text we see. Here's a super simple way to get it. When you're typing a text and you type good morn and your phone just suggests morning? Well, an LLM does the exact same thing, just on an absolutely unbelievable scale. It's just predicting the most likely next word, and then the next one, and the next, until suddenly it's written entire paragraphs or poems, or even really complex computer code. So that brings us to our next section, AI versus search. Because this whole predictability, it's a totally new way to find answers. We're moving way beyond just finding data and into creating brand new understanding from it. And yeah, this is the question everybody asks, and it's a really important one. I mean, we've been using search engines for decades, right? So what makes an AI assistant a fundamentally different kind of tool? And this comparison just nails the difference. Think of it this way. Google is a librarian who finds you a list of books on a topic. It gives you a bunch of links, basically doors to other rooms. Claude, on the other hand, reads all those books for you and then writes a brand new, custom summary that's tailored exactly to what you asked. It generates new explanations, and this is huge, it remembers the context of your conversation, so you can keep building on what you've already discussed. All right, next up, the AI's secret currency. To really master Claude, you absolutely have to understand tokens. They're the basic unit it uses to process language, and trust me, knowing how they work is the key to using this AI efficiently. Just think of tokens as the little puzzle pieces of language. When you give Claude a sentence, the first thing it does is break it down into these pieces. Now, it's not exactly one-to-one with words. Sometimes a word is one token, sometimes it's more, and even punctuation, like a period, becomes its very own token. Let's take a super simple example. To us, this is 3 words and a period, but that's not what the AI sees at all. It sees this, 5 separate tokens. The word Databricks gets split into 2, is and powerful are their own, and even the period is isolated. Getting this is so fundamental because tokens directly affect everything you do with the AI. So here's the million-dollar question. Why should you even care about this? Well, 3 big reasons. 1, cost. If you're using the API, you're paying for every single token, both in what you ask and in the answer you get back. 2, speed. The fewer tokens in your prompt, the faster the response comes back. Simple as that. And 3, limits. Every AI model has what's called a context window, which is just a maximum number of tokens it can handle at one time. Okay, so understanding tokens naturally leads us to the single most important skill for using any of these AIs, crafting the perfect prompt. This is where you really take control. Because when it comes to AI, it is always garbage in, garbage out. I absolutely love this analogy. Imagine you hired a brilliant, super fast junior employee who knows pretty much everything, but has zero initiative. They will do exactly what you tell them to do, for better or for worse. Your prompt is literally the set of instructions you give them for every single task. So if you give that brilliant but literal employee instructions like this, help me with Databricks, what do you really expect to get back? It's going to be something vague, something generic, and probably not very useful at all. It's just way too open-ended. But a great prompt now that has structure. This right here is the perfect anatomy. First, you give Claude a role. You tell it who it should be. Then you give it context, all the necessary background info. Next, you clearly state the task. Then you define the output format you want, and finally, you add constraints. Tell it what not to do. This 5-part structure completely transforms a vague request into a precise, powerful command. All right, last section.
Now that you know how to talk to Claude, let's cover the final pieces of the puzzle, understanding the rules of its memory and how to give it some real superpowers.
We mentioned that context window thing earlier. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a whiteboard in a meeting room. Everything in your current chat, so all your prompts and all of Claude's answers, gets written on that whiteboard. And Claude can see everything that's on it.
And here is the most critical takeaway from this section. When you start a new chat, that whiteboard gets wiped completely clean. By default, Claude has no long-term memory between your chats. Every single conversation is a fresh start. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings people have, and just knowing this will save you so much confusion. And finally, let's talk superpowers. You see, by itself, Claude is just a text machine, but developers can give it tools, which are basically connections to other programs. And this is an absolute game changer. It means Claude can be given a calculator for perfect math, a search tool to get live data from the web, or even the ability to run code. This is what elevates it from just a text generator to a true assistant that can actually take action for you.
So, there you have it. We've gone from this idea of a magical book all the way down to the mechanics of tokens, prompts, and memory. The magic isn't gone. You now understand how the trick is done. The book is real, it's in your hands, and now you're the magician. So the only question left is, what are you going to ask it to write?